This podcast sponsored by Cherry Hill Volvo.
At Cherry Hill Volvo, we offer a fabulous leasing option, Care by Volvo. After 4 months, the options are to remain in the current lease, upgrade to another Cherry Hill Volvo, or to terminate the lease. A fabulously creative leasing partnership, Care by Volvo at Cherry Hill Volvo and you.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists, and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
WPHT, HD, WOGL, HD3, Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. An Odyssey station. The revolution will be broadcast. This is the next generation of talk. Now on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, Rich Zeoli.
Well, the bad news is Facebook is back. The good news is we had a whole day without it, which was fantastic. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. It is Tuesday morning, 855-839-1210. Yeah, Facebook's back, unfortunately, and a lot of us are realizing, man, bummer. I was just fine with it being down, but who won? Who lost yesterday? What happened? Big ramifications. I mean, billions of dollars lost by Zuckerberg, in hours, by the way, after they that whistleblower came forward. 855-839-1210. And on Twitter, at Rich Zeoli. Great to have you with us today. We'll look into all of that. And also, we'll get some more details on that shooting in Philadelphia yesterday, and then how the two officers are doing as they recover after getting shot by that madman outside the hospital. And then we'll find out a little bit more as the show progresses, too, about the war on energy in Pennsylvania, specifically in Pennsylvania, and why it's going to impact us this winter. No doubt about that. We'll talk to Congressman Guy Reschenthaler about that a little bit later in the show today. But first, let's begin by saying good morning to Dawn and check in. Good morning, Dawn.
Hey, and good morning. This Tuesday morning, October 5th, Zeoli Show News Live, sponsored by American Heritage Credit Union. So, yes, a nursing assistant shot and killed a coworker inside Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia, and reaction continues this morning, as well as the investigation. So, in other words, before fleeing in that U-Haul and being shot in a subsequent exchange of gunfire with police, wounding those two officers. So, sources are naming 55-year-old Stacey Hayes, driving to the hospital just after midnight in that U-Haul, walking to the 9th floor wearing blue scrubs, shot his coworker, who's identified by family as 43-year-old nursing assistant Henri James. Surveillance video reportedly shows Hayes walking up behind James and then just opening fire while he was seated at his workstation. The two of them reportedly friends. So we don't know the motive as police piece this together. Hayes then allegedly kept firing as James tried to run away. So Hayes, who police say was armed with multiple weapons, wearing that artillery style, wearing gear on him, and then fled the hospital in the U-Haul. So that was after a citizen's report. This was playing out. Police then were fired on with an automatic style kind of rifle or semi-automatic rifle, and police returned fire. So those officers continuing to recover this morning, one after surgery, and this making national news as we look at the violence across Philadelphia. And that's just one of the shootings that happened in the city. So we also have the jury selection is done in the trial, the federal trial, 2.5 years after the charges happened. Union leader John Doherty and Bobby Heenan going on this federal trial. Doherty speaking to the media yesterday saying he looked forward to the trial, that he will be acquitted, that he is not a guilty man. So we'll follow that one as well. And we're hearing there's not just a shortage of bus drivers. Apparently PennDOT is having trouble in hiring snowplow drivers ahead of what is predicted to be a rough, snowy, cold winter. Uh-oh, we're not ready for that. The NBC 10 First Alert forecast, we're only at 65 after a warm 80-some degree day yesterday, and we will only get up to about 71 degrees with the rain, it should be clearing, and that tees us up for a more fall-like day today and tomorrow. And American Heritage Credit Union brings us this news and weather this morning. With an American Heritage Credit Union Platinum MasterCard, you decide how to be rewarded. Earn up to 3% cash back or transfer a balance from another card. No fees. Lock in that 0% APR on purchases and balance transfers for 9 months. Visit AmericanHeritageCU.org/credit cards, insured by NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender. This is Zilla Show News Live.
All right, Dawn, thank you. 855-839-1210. So Facebook was out for a long time yesterday, and I think everybody took a nice sigh of relief, enjoying all the free time they had to be off of Facebook and on another social media platform. That's pretty much how it played out yesterday. People went on Twitter and Signal, because WhatsApp was down and some other apps. Zuckerberg lost billions of dollars. We still don't know exactly what happened yesterday. But this all happened after that whistleblower came forward, and she's going to testify in front of the Senate next week. So there's all kinds of different rumors about what was happening yesterday. I'm sure more details will come out. And the one thing I do know, though, is that everybody agrees on one thing, which is Facebook is just, it's got some bad news. It's bad news around it. That doesn't mean all of it's bad, obviously, but a lot of it's pretty bad. But the disruption of Facebook yesterday hobbled communication, both essential and mundane. People don't realize that a lot of small businesses rely on Facebook as their website. A lot of restaurants rely on Facebook to actually just be. So if if you're a small business and you can't really afford your own website and the maintenance of having to do it and then all the changing disclaimers and everything like this, Facebook has actually made it easy for you to have a presence on the internet without having to do much in terms of maintenance and upkeep. So you might find a local restaurant in your town. Instead of having a link to a menu, it'll link you to their Facebook page. They'll put their specials on there. They'll have a picture on there of their menu and that sort of thing. Little mom and pop stores do that too. And obviously, it's also a place where you go to fight with your loved ones. So there's all those different things that have to do with it. The outrage caused widespread disruptions to Facebook's internal communications tools. Voice calls, work apps used for calendar appointments and other functions. Some staff were using Zoom to remain connected throughout the day to other people on Facebook, even though Facebook has its own way of chatting, obviously, on Facebook. So they still don't really know exactly what happened, but it was something to do with communications between Facebook's data centers, which led to a cascade of disruptions as servers were cut off with each other. And internal systems were also hit, making it hard for the company's engineers to diagnose and fix the problem. Now, they say that user data was not compromised, all right? That's what they say. Those rumors were swirling yesterday that this was a hostage thing. Facebook was being held hostage and they turn over the data or else. And then Facebook apps and sites began functioning again after about 5:30 p.m. on Monday. But it was slow to recover. And they never specify what actually caused the initial outage. Mark Zuckerberg apologized. He said, "I know how much you rely on our service to stay connected with the people you care about," which is probably the problem. We all rely on Facebook just a little too much in one way, shape, or form. So when it went down, we all went, "Oh my, what do we do?" But that is a problem. They found a way to, like a giant octopus with tentacles, get into everybody's life in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, not all of it's bad. Some of it's pretty helpful. But for a lot of people, the minute it went down, they realized, I am way too reliant on this. One woman who's 52 years old, she offers virtual Zumba classes to clients, according to the Wall Street Journal. She was unable to reach her clients as social media is the only way she can find, they can find out the times for her virtual class. That's how I advertise. I put it on Facebook. I know a lot of people that do that as well. They just don't want to have their own website. And Peloton, which is the exercise company, they tweeted yesterday, "Here's a distraction while Instagram and Facebook are down. So while the apps are down, tell us what mood you're in and we'll recommend a class to take tonight." But a lot of small business people, for them, the class would be on Facebook, that sort of thing. Now, Twitter did very well yesterday. Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, Jack, tweeted out something yesterday saying the effect of, "Hello, everybody." The company later acknowledged that the outpouring of traffic it received may have affected replies and direct messages for a period, also then in some ways delaying Twitter's ability to be a functioning service. And then Signal, which is a rival messaging service where you can send encrypted messages back and forth to people, did very, very well yesterday because WhatsApp was down. So that's what happened yesterday. And I don't know, can we all agree that if Facebook didn't come back on yesterday, we all would have been just fine with life? Can we make that declaration? What do you think?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Like if Facebook just never came back, everybody would have been okay with it.
Well, I wouldn't have, because actually some of my investments are in Facebook. So it dropped 5% yesterday. So that's bad.
Oh, so
full disclosure.
Yeah, so that's true. Yeah, I got that aspect of it too. How about the socialization? Do your boys use Facebook?
No.
No?
No. Kids are not on Facebook.
It's not
Ever.
cool enough for them, right?
No. It's for old people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always thought that. But they are on Insta or Finsta?
Or Snapchat. One of those.
But, so they are, or what about WhatsApp? Are they on that?
You know what? I don't know.
How about you, Belenio? What about the kids you know? What are they on these days?
You know, I am. It's kind of split between my friend group between WhatsApp and iMessage on the Apple version, basically, because it's encrypted. So it's kind of back and forth on WhatsApp and iMessage. Like I've never used iApp, but I have friends who have.
But are a lot of people you know still using Facebook?
You know, it's between Twitter and probably Instagram now, but Instagram was down also because it's a division of Facebook now. So That's really where they were most hurt.
I'm just trying to think of the future in terms of what in 10 years if people are still going to be on Facebook or not.
It's a good question. I definitely think my generation, the millennials, are outside of Facebook. Like they're deteriorating away from it. Gen Z, I don't think is anywhere near it. Like outside of it, I think they're all TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. I think
so. Instagram is part of Facebook. Obviously, that was down yesterday. WhatsApp, which the kids all use to communicate together, that was down as well. There's other things that compete with that, but Facebook's the mother load. Yeah. Right? It's the mothership. Yeah, so you can have other little side things, but I'm talking about Facebook. Is Facebook ever going to go the way of MySpace?
I think it will.
You think so?
I think within like 5 years, I think it's going to be kaput. I think it's gone.
What's your prediction, Greg? Does Facebook ever go the way of MySpace, which with old people like us used MySpace for some portion of time, I imagine, right?
As of September 10th, 2021, 2.89 billion people use Facebook around the world. So I don't see it going away anytime soon.
Right. And to Greg's point, that's why Zuckerberg knew this and was changing his business model. So you'll notice if you go to a site, it'll say sign on with Facebook because they already knew that the kids are not using it. That's why they created other venues for my kids' ages and stuff like that. So they're trying to change the business model for it.
Mm-hmm. MySpace at its peak had 100 million users.
Wow.
Which if you had said to me back then, 100 million people use it, I doubt this thing will ever go bust. Now, I know 2.8 billion is a lot more than 100 million. I get that, even though I'm not a math guy. But I do wonder, though. If they can, if there'll ever be a reason why Facebook if they pulled the plug out and it never came back, if people could just move on with their life. I feel like we could. I think we could.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we could do it.
And MySpace is still around, but it's just rebranded to music stuff. So would Facebook rebrand itself to something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Something else.
Yeah.
The glorious day when I get escorted out of this building and I'm never to be seen again in radio, I am deleting all of my social media accounts.
Well, you don't even put your kids on your son on social media.
I don't. No.
Yeah. Which is probably smart, actually, not to do that. I'm sure that's probably smart.
No, look, I don't judge. Everybody can do whatever they want to. We just made the decision, my wife and I, not to do it. But I don't think that it's the right decision or the wrong decision. It's the right decision by us. So, like, I'm not judging anybody who puts their children on Facebook because, that's their own thing,
Do we waste too much time on Facebook?
Yes.
Do we, or is it a valuable business tool that people use?
Well, I think people use it as a business tool because there are so many people on it. You know what I mean? So, like, if there were, you have look, it's a business model for us. You know what I mean? Like we where are our listeners? Where are the 1210 listeners? A lot of them are on Facebook. So we
don't use it nearly enough then.
We gravitate. Well, we put the shows up on Facebook.
Yeah. But we do Who on Twitter. We should probably be doing Who on Facebook.
Yeah, but it's not the same because Twitter has like that instant, the little pithy comments.
Who
Facebook
won
doesn't.
Snapchat? What do you think? You want to do that again? No? Who won Snapchat? No? All right.
I'd be scared to set up an account on Snapchat.
Who won Finsta?
Finsta, that's fine. I'm cool with Finsta.
Who won Finsta? I don't know. Well, it's just interesting, though, how much the delay yesterday or the down of Facebook yesterday was greeted with a couple different things, mostly mocking because there's such a love-hate relationship with this site. There really is. It is a good way to reconnect with people, certainly is. It's probably a good way to make friends and also lose friends. It's a good way to connect with family members and also fight with them. So there's a lot of upsides and downsides, no doubt about it. But one thing that is apparent from all this outage yesterday is that Facebook is weaker than we knew. According to the New York Times, what they wrote is that when you go through all the whistleblower documents, when you look through the internal research and everything like that, the Facebook has a lot of problems. They write, Facebook's in trouble, not financial trouble or legal trouble or even senators yelling at Mark Zuckerberg trouble. What I'm talking about is the kind of slow, steady decline that anyone who's ever seen a dying company up close can realize. It's a cloud of existential dread that hangs over an organization whose best days are behind it, influencing every managerial priority and product decision and leading to increasingly desperate attempts to find a way out. Sounds like radio a little bit. This kind of decline is not necessarily visible from the outside, but insiders see 100 small, disquieting signs of it every day. User hostile growth hacks, frenetic pivots, executive paranoia, the gradual attrition of talented colleagues. So you say it's got 1.2 billion, it's not going anywhere. But I mean, how many big companies in our lifetime have we seen that we always would have thought were too big to fail, and then they fell. I mean, look, in the 80s, would you have ever bet against shopping malls?
It's true. It's true. It's a good point. Yeah.
Would you have ever bet against Orange Julius? I don't think so. I don't think so. So the question is,
the
will
kids will
Facebook
be drinking this forever?
Yeah, my kids will be eating this, drinking this stuff forever and ever and ever. And they'll be going to Spencer Gifts to buy all their gifts for their friends at school. So the question, of course, is Facebook going to be here in 10 years? I don't know. I have my doubts. I really do. But then again, I didn't think Twitter was ever going to become a thing. So I'm probably the wrong guy to kind of predict this stuff. But I think the one thing we have to all agree on is that nothing should surprise us in this world we live in today. If tomorrow everybody switched over to something else and Facebook, at least Facebook died, maybe the other stuff lived, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think anybody would be shocked. In hindsight, you go, well, you could have seen the writing on the wall. That's for sure. But then again, the other question, though, is does Facebook still have one thing that every other site doesn't have, which is reams and reams and reams of data on us, that even if people stop using it tomorrow, they'd still have all that data. And that's going to be something that is very, very profitable probably for a long time to come, unfortunately. 855-839-1210. Were you okay yesterday with Facebook being down? Did you survive with Insta being down? Did you make it? Did you make it through the day? Did you find something more useful to do with your time yesterday? Like go outside and run or read a book or make fun of people on another social media site. How did you spend your day? It wasn't on Facebook. Let me know. 855-839-1210. I'll tell you something else, too. Dr. Mike Veneria is a great guy, a great friend, and a great dentist. And when it comes to your smile, you want to make sure you get this right. Well, Dr. Mike has been voted top dentist in South Jersey for 9 consecutive years. Not only is he my dentist, he's my wife's dentist, my kid's dentist, and my parents' dentist as well. 3 generations of Ziolis, all with different needs, all delighted by the care Dr. Mike Veneria and his award-winning team provide. So whether you're looking for pediatric, general, cosmetic, or implant dentistry, look no further. Dr. Veneria's office continues to exceed CDC guidelines, so you're going to be safe, great music playing. It's just a wonderful office to be in. And they have an upcoming Veterans Breakfast Saturday, November 13th, with a free community shredding event as part of honoring our veterans. Locations are right over the bridge in Cinnaminster and Woodbury. Schedule your free implant consultation today and get that perfect smile you deserve. And as the year end approaches, Veneria's staff can help you maximize unused insurance benefits that will expire December 31st. So don't miss out. This could be your chance to really get the smile you've always waited for. 856-786-2020. 856-786-2020 or veneriadental.com. My dentist and my friend and the award-winning implant dentist of South Jersey and our whole region, Dr. Mike Veneria, veneriadental.com.
The Rich Zeoli Show on your schedule. This is the Zeoli Show podcast.
Now maybe did I mean to treat you bad? but I did it anyway. And then
Now,
maybe
Facebook will be hauled in front of the Senate next week.
some would say
It'll be a show, as it always is. Remember, the people that want Facebook to be regulated more than anybody are the Democrats. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. And yesterday, the White House said that Jen Psaki said basically a summary of this. She said, it shows you that self-regulation doesn't work with Facebook. That's what she was saying. Basically to the point of, if you think about what the whistleblower said when they came forward, it shows you that self-regulation of Facebook does not work. Now, what's interesting about that, of course, is that Jen Psaki, like other people on the left, would love to have a code of justice, of Facebook justice, where they have all kinds of different rules. Thou shalt not have hate speech. Thou shalt not promote anything that disputes the science of climate change. Thou shalt not put anything on there that disputes the science of vaccines. Thou shalt not, and on it would go. And they would love that, and they would love for everybody to get buy-in on that. Of course, Mark Zuckerberg would love that too. He just doesn't want to do it from a business perspective. He wants it to be done to him. I mean, he said it in the past. He testified in front of the House and the Senate a couple years ago, and he goes, listen, I would love there to be regulation on us. We need regulation on us. Please regulate us. And the whole time you sit there thinking, why don't you just regulate yourselves? And the answer is because they want to make a lot of money, but they want to be able to do it under the confines of being able to say, well, listen, we're sorry. We don't have a choice here. Government's making us do that, and the government's making us do that. But if you think it's a good idea to have government regulation of Facebook, all I have to ask you is, who do you think wins and who do you think loses, if that's the case? If the government tomorrow rolls out, say, a Facebook hate speech guidelines, and within those guidelines now they have certain rules of what you can and can't post, who do you think wins? Which political side of the aisle benefits from that? Conservatives, libertarians? I don't think so. And that's the big issue right there. That's the big issue. So what will happen is they'll go in front of the Senate next week. Now they've got them on this link to big tobacco. So now what you're going to hear over and over again, and what you heard yesterday and what you've heard days before that, is along the following. Facebook is just like big tobacco. They knew their product was harmful, and they lied to us about it. Just like Facebook, just like big tobacco, now they need to be regulated. And they got to pay. A big settlement. They got to pay, and a big settlement, and they need to have some sort of a self-esteem class for everybody, and that. But now we're going to regulate them just like tobacco. We're not going to make it illegal, and we're going to say that kids should use it carefully, but of course we're going to let kids use it, but within the confines of that, we're going to put all kinds of rules in place. And then they get what they want. I mean, you think about young people on the left today, when they're asked questions at colleges and universities, hey, would you like to see hate speech bans? A majority of them nowadays say yes. If you ask them nowadays, do you think that somebody should be kicked out of a university for saying something that disagrees with climate change? You'll say yes, because it's dangerous to push things that are contrary to climate change. It's something we all have to embrace for the good of humanity. You see it happening with anyone who criticizes vaccines or anybody who goes on social media and says anything about masks. We've been watching this for a while now. And I know it's easy to jump up and go, yeah, regulate them. Yeah. But you'll lose with that. You'll lose in a big, big way. I mean, look who's banned from Facebook and Twitter right now. Donald Trump is banned from Facebook and Twitter. That's exactly the point I'm making. That's exactly what I mean right there. You're not going to get a fight from Mark Zuckerberg, at least publicly, about regulation. Then what will happen is his high-paid team of lobbyists, and they're very well paid, and there's a lot of them, will then go out to craft exactly the regulations that they want that benefit them and also hurt their competitors. Because they would like to be able to hurt their competitors too. They don't want to have some sort of right-wing group that has a social media platform come about and then be able to take them on head on. So they also want to be able to have regulations crafted in a way that will really not make it a free marketplace either. Because that's the normal way you try to solve a problem in the world, right? You'd create a free marketplace and you'd admit right now it's not a free marketplace. And people say this is the modern day town square and this is our modern day telecommunications, and therefore the government has to regulate it. But in the process of regulation, the government also finds a way to reward those who pay it the most money in the form of lobbyists and campaign donors, and then they create regulations that not only benefit the companies that exist, but actually make it harder for startups, as we've seen. I mean, good luck starting your own internet company today. Good luck starting your own cell phone company today. It's very difficult to do. And the same thing with the internet. I mean, good luck starting your own Facebook today or any of these other sites. And if the government started regulating those platforms, it would be even harder. It never gets easier. Whenever government gets in the business of regulation, you never get more free speech, you get less. You never get more competition, you get less. Every time government gets involved. But that's what they want. That's what they want. And they're going to use these Facebook documents to then get it. And now they've got their talking point that this is the big tobacco link. So you'll see it. 855-839-1210. Hey, I told you last week the IRS is now able to go and look into your bank accounts. And a lot of people didn't believe me, but it's true. They can. Anything over $600, the IRS can now take a little peek into your checking account. The IRS is in business big time, and they need money. So that's why the Democrats just gave the IRS $80 billion of new enforcement money powers in the new reconciliation bill. What do you do if you owe them money? You better get somebody on your side. If you haven't filed returns, if you owe the IRS money, reach out to Charlie Montesino. Charlie is a certified public accountant and a certified tax resolution specialist. In fact, he's one of only 153 people in the entire country, which makes Charlie one of the elite professionals able to solve your IRS problems. His number is 877-257-1040. 877-257-1040. And he's going to help you today. He's got an office in Pittman, New Jersey, but he'll help you wherever you are. He also has a website you can visit, taxproblemsolve.com, taxproblemsolve.com. Reach out to him today and end your IRS nightmare once and for all. 877-257-1040, 877-257-1040. Charlie Montesino, the tax problem solver.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists, and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
There's a lot of streaming services out there, each filled with reality TV, comedy, drama, and of course, superheroes. But there's one dedicated entirely to nonfiction TV and documentary films, and that's Curiosity Stream. History, science, nature, we've got it. Space, dinosaurs, big cats, we've got that too. And pretty much anything else you want to explore. Go ahead, add some smart TV to your smart TV with Curiosity Stream. Go to curiositystream.com to sign up and start streaming today.
Whatever happens today, plan to conquer it with a fresh cup of True Brew coffee. True North Convenience Store's True Brew coffee is a hot, flavorful gourmet blend created from coffee beans from around the world. Each cup can be customized to your suiting. Our brew is truly perfect for any time of the day. During the month of October, stop in and enter for a chance to win free coffee for a year. Go to your local True North store to find the special code phrase, then visit TrueNorthStores.com to enter. Offer valid 10/5 through 11/1. True North Convenience Stores. Fast, friendly, clean.
Amco Transmissions and Total Car Care has been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Our expert technicians can accurately diagnose all your car care needs. We'll fix it right and back it with our nationwide warranty at over 600 Amco centers. And if cash is tight, we have up to 12 months of no interest financing and easy payment plans, even if your credit is less than perfect. Call 1-800-GO-AMCO for the location near you. That's AA MCO, transmissions, and a whole lot more.
Thanks for taking the Zeoli Show with you. Rich Zeoli, weekday mornings on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
So as we're all looking to see what's going to happen in regards to the debt ceiling, we'll ask Congressman Guy Reschenthaler about that a little bit later. Is this something you should worry about? Is this something Republicans really have any say in the matter in? Democrats are trying to blame them, of course. Blame Republicans, of course. But is that really fair? Good morning. Welcome back. 855-839-1210 is the number. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you with us today. The other story of the day concerns energy prices. And, you know, it's funny. You think about what's happening with the war on energy out there, and I talk about it, I mention it, but New York Times had a piece on it today. Energy prices spike. Producers worry about pandemic and climate, and even as more costly fuel poses political risk for Biden, oil companies and OPEC are not eager to produce more as they will worry that prices will drop. Isn't that interesting? So what they're saying right now is that natural gas prices have shot up more than 150%. At the same time that Americans are spending a dollar more for a gallon of gasoline than they were a year ago. I'm sure that's probably affecting you every day. I see it when I drive by these places. I see the prices go up. And natural gas prices have shot up 150% over the same time. So now what that means is then that you're going to see that reflected in the price of food, chemicals, plastic goods, and heating your house this winter. No doubt about that. The energy system is suddenly in crisis around the world as the cost of oil, natural gas, and coal has climbed rapidly in recent months. In China, Britain, and elsewhere, fuel shortages and panic buying have led to blackouts and long lines at filling stations. Now, they say the situation in the United States is not quite as dire, but oil and gasoline prices are high enough that Biden has been calling on foreign producers to crank up supply, which is pathetic. Now, we have to ask foreign producers to crank up supply. We could have enough in this country, and we did have enough in this country to not only have enough for all of us, but to export it. But the minute we shut down the Keystone XL pipeline, the minute we banned drilling in Anwar, the minute that we decided to embrace these policies, well, that affected the global marketplace in a big way. And bad people, well, they realized that, and they started producing their own supply. But they weren't necessarily selling it to us. They were selling it to other bad people. And China's sitting back and laughing over this, as is Russia. As is Iran. I mean, that's the thing. These are countries that are never going to get on the green energy bandwagon, no matter what. But they will take advantage of the fact that the United States of America doesn't want to be in the natural gas and oil and natural gas export business. They'll take advantage of that, and then they'll start selling it. You don't think Putin will sit there and start selling it? Of course he will. U.S. energy executives and Wall Street bankers and investors who finance them are not doing anything to bolster production to levels that could bring down prices. So the main U.S. oil price jumped nearly 3% on Monday, the 7-year high. This is after OPEC and its allies declined to significantly increase the supply. But again, we are becoming more and more reliant on OPEC and these other countries around the world. That's our mistake. That's our mistake here. This is the dumb moves the Biden administration is making. They see the Green New Deal. They know it's about to get passed. They know that the government's about to give massive subsidies to electric cars. They know this. They see this. And then, of course, shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline, which was such a dumb move. Not only have banks and investors lost money in the boom-bust cycles that whipsawed the sector over the past decade, many also say they are prepared to pair their exposure to fossil fuels to meet the commitments they have made to fight climate change. That's right. Here's the other problem, too, is that a lot of these companies now will get blasted if they don't look like they're going all in on the green stuff. And then if production does not increase, fuel prices could stay high and even rise, even more and more, which then presents, as they write it, a political problem for Mr. Biden. The New York Times now. If the drillers don't increase production, fuel prices could stay high and even rise, which would present a political problem for Joe Biden. Many Americans, especially lower income families, are vulnerable to big swings in oil and gas prices. And while use of renewable energy in electric cars is growing, it remains too small to meaningfully offset the pain of higher gasoline and natural gas prices. Now, if you're in San Francisco or Philadelphia or New York City or Martha's Vineyard or something like that, you may not feel it. You may not feel it. However, though, if you're a lower income family, you're definitely going to feel it. You're definitely going to feel it. And if you're a lower income family in Pennsylvania, for example, it's absolutely going to hit you. And then you're going to see prices around everything that you buy goes up as well. So we are so dumb. Well, actually, the Biden administration is so dumb right now. They're saying oil prices could rise by $10 before the end of the year, which is why the Biden administration is now trying to get OPEC to produce more oil. We could be doing that ourselves, but we don't want to do that. So now we want to be reliant on OPEC, which is a bunch of, for the most part, Middle East crazy people. I mean, really is. And they're now the ones who are going to be in charge. So they're reluctant to produce more. You know why? The same reasons that many U.S. oil and gas companies are unwilling to do so. Oil executives contend that while prices may seem high, there's no guarantee they will stay high, especially if the global economy weakens, because there's another coronavirus surge, for example. Since the pandemic began, the oil industry has laid off tens of thousands of workers, and dozens of companies have gone bankrupt or loaded up on debt. Now, some people bragged about that. They said, well, during COVID, the earth was very clean and quiet. The sonic boom levels were down, and it was a much cleaner place. Well, that's true because people weren't driving as much, and a lot of companies were not producing as much. Prices were in the same territory in the middle of 2018, and in some ways, from the $100 barrel level they topped as recently as 2014, oil prices are still high, but they're not stratospheric, but that could change tomorrow. That could change tomorrow if other companies or countries start halting their production, or if there's another storm, or if there's another coronavirus surge, or any other reason. Banks and investors are reluctant to put more money into the oil and gas business. The flow of capital from Wall Street has slowed to a trickle. A decade ago, they poured over $1.4 trillion into North American oil and gas producers through stock and bond issues and loans. But the banks have pulled away from financing. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why banks would pull away from financing oil and gas production. The flow of money supplied by banks and other investors had slowed even before the pandemic because shale wells often produced a lot of oil and gas at first, but were quickly depleted. Many oil producers generated little, if any, profit, which led to bankruptcies whenever energy prices fell. Now, I think about this from the context of the 2022 election because I'm putting everything in the context of that these days. Imagine if you've got a situation where this winter, it's even more expensive for companies to heat their homes, and they're looking at food prices going up, and they're looking at the price of goods going up. All the cheap plastic toys they want to give their kids goes up, if they can even get them because of all the supply chain issues. Now you're dealing with towns in America that are feeling that pinch in a big, big way. And there's nothing that affects everybody like the price of gasoline they put into their car, except the price they have to do to heat their homes this winter. It's a real problem. And it hits a big target of the Democrat base, lower income people, middle class and lower income people. That's why people on the left, in the left coast and New York City, the big cities, they love all this green stuff. They do. And they don't care if the price of oil goes up. In fact, I think it's a good thing because it's how we'll drive people away from it. They actually want to do certain things in the marketplace to artificially affect the price. This way people go, I'll pass on oil, I'll pass on gas, I'll go heat my house with solar panels or something like that. But they want people to do that. Of course, it's not common sense. It doesn't actually work. The aversion to expanding oil and gas production is driven in part by investors' growing enthusiasm for renewable energy. Stock funds focusing on investments like wind and solar energy manage $1.3 trillion in assets, a 40% increase this year. And why is that happening so much? Government subsidies. If you don't get in on this business now, where the government's looking to subsidize the electric vehicle market, looking to have all of these EV chargers put up around the country, if you don't get in on that now, well, you're just making a mistake, right? BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, wants the businesses it's investing to eventually remove as much carbon dioxide from the environment as they emit. They want net zero emissions. Why? Because the governments love that. So the governments are less likely to bust their chops if they do that. So then if all that's moving in the right direction from their perspective of the Green New Deal and all the energy, why are things not working? Well, what they say here is that limited supply of oil and natural gas and the cost of investing in renewable energy and battery storage for when the sun is not shining and the wind is not blowing could raise energy prices for the foreseeable future. What an economic guy in the energy sector said, I'm a believer that you're going to see a period of inflating energy prices this decade. Well, that doesn't bode well politically for the Democrats, does it? I mean, it does for their hardcore base, because again, they want to see prices go up, thinking that that'll get you away from this stuff. And then Russia, how's Russia doing with all this? Well, believe it or not, even though they're very happy to be able to become the world's exporter of natural gas and oil, there are a lot of signs of stress around the world, they say. Europe and Asia are running low on natural gas. Prices are rising even before the first winter chill. Russia, a major gas supplier to both regions, has provided less gas than its customers expected, making it hard for some countries to replace nuclear and coal power plants with ones running on gas. So all of this is happening at a time right now where we're seeing inflation happening in our country in a big, big way. And we're also seeing right now people are getting very nervous about what the fall and winter could bring vis-a-vis COVID. All I know is that when you are in a situation where you've got the middle-class guy and he's paying now more in gas to drive to work and fuel his home this winter, and he can't get toys for his little girl at Christmas, it's going to make for some very, very unhappy people as midterm elections are right around the corner, and especially if they don't get an infrastructure bill done. That's going to make people, all this combining to be just a perfect storm for Democrats. 855-839-1210. 855-839-1210. Of course, Biden this is self-inflicted harm. He didn't have to. When Trump was president, we were the world's largest exporter of much of this energy. But now we're lagging behind. And the bad guys are going to win. They always do. The bad guys that make this stuff, they win. And they don't care a damn thing about Green New Deals. China doesn't care. They could care less. Iran doesn't care. Listen, speaking of heating your home, do you know what it's going to cost you to heat your home this winter? I don't have any estimates yet. But every expert I'm seeing now is saying it's going to cost more. So what do? Well, in our case, years ago when we bought our house, we realized our house was an older home. And it didn't have great insulation, which meant that even though we replaced the windows and the doors, we put in a new furnace, the house was still cold. Because insulation is so critical to keeping your home energy efficient that you'll see now a new home gets built, it's got premium grade insulation that goes in. Building codes require it. You're not going to get a permit for construction unless that home has terrific insulation. So USA Insulation is your answer. After you get foam insulated in your house, USA Insulation customers find out that they're saving money. And right now you can act with an early bird discount of up to $500 and a government tax credit where you can take another $500 right off your taxes. So why would you live in a poorly insulated older home when you can have the comfort of a new home thanks to USA Insulation? You can save money at the same time you winterproof your home and find out that it's even more comfortable. Just call them today, 1-800-USA-FOAM, 1-800-USA-FOAM or usainsulation.net, and do what I did and what so many people have done to find a more comfortable home and a more energy efficient home, which means a much more affordable electric bill. USA Insulation, 1-800-USA-FOAM.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists, and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
There was stories of these girls that would leave his house and they would have to swim out in the lake and get away from them. He has a secret room in his house. He put me in there, she said. I don't want anybody to die anymore. I don't want anybody else to die. I'm looking for Ashley.
Season 3 of Up and Vanished is available right now. Listen for free on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
There's a lot of streaming services out there, each filled with reality TV, comedy, drama, and of course, superheroes. But there's one dedicated entirely to nonfiction TV and documentary films, and that's Curiosity Stream. History, science, nature, we've got it. Space, dinosaurs, big cats, we've got that too. And pretty much anything else you want to explore. Go ahead, add some smart TV to your smart TV with Curiosity Stream. Go to curiositystream.com to sign up and start streaming today.
The climate crisis is here. Time's slipping away to stop the worst effects of global warming, and we need solutions. Hosted by me, Molly Wood, How We Survive dives deep into the economics, the tech, and the human stories behind those solutions. From billionaires trying to monopolize lithium mines to business rivalries so fierce that one CEO was dragged off a plane by federal authorities. How We Survive, following the money to the end of the world because our survival might depend on it. Listen on Odyssey and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The Rich Zeoli Show on your schedule. This is the Zeoli Show podcast.
I can see you in the morning when you
One of the issues of the day today involves education. I'll tell you about a letter that the United States Attorney Merrick Garland sent out to local school boards around the country involving law enforcement. For all you pesky parents that speak up and yell at school board meetings, I'll tell you what that's all about, why people are nervous today. And yes, we're still learning more and more about the Facebook outage yesterday, as well as the shooting in Philadelphia yesterday. Now, Dawn, they said they're going to formally charge the shooter later today, right?
Yes.
What are the details in terms of what they're waiting for?
So, I think that as far as what they're waiting for, they're still investigating this guy, and he apparently had 2 firearms. So he's the 55-year-old gunman. They're also looking at the motive, but I think they just want to nail everything down before they formally charge. So I think it has to do with his intent. This apparently was planned. He rented this U-Haul. So it's just bizarre.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it. It really does. And I think a little bit later I want to check in with John McNesby. He's going to call in the show from the FOP Lodge 5. Not sure exactly when yet, but we'll talk to him and find out exactly, probably around 8:30 or so, find out how the cops are doing who got shot by this guy yesterday. Of course, the FOP Lodge 5 Survivors Fund steps up to help these officers.
Yeah, and I think that's when you look at this thing, so this happened 12:08, right? 9th floor Jefferson. You can only imagine what that was like for those workers at the hospital in the middle of the night. So now police across the city are trying to catch this guy. And they've got, and so they have a sighting. They go. What hasn't been reported, there were multiple officers that he fired upon, more than 4 officers, that they reported it as a hail of bullets, that he just opens fire on these officers. So 2 officers are hit. And so they say, the officers, sustained non-life-threatening injuries. Well, if you're shot in the nose or if you're shot in the elbow or the arm, that's not a Band-Aid. You know what I mean? And so these officers, to me, are heroes because God knows what the intent was. And I think that's part of this investigation. Was there a catastrophe planned? What was the plan? So it's just
Well, I would bet
scary.
you the plan was for him to kill the officers. That's why he'd shoot him in the nose, right?
Yeah.
Or anywhere.
Yeah.
By the way, that is the big story, at least locally here in our city, and it's brought to you by Wawa. Fuel up in the Wawa app and get 15 cents off a gallon. Just use the Wawa app to pay for your fuel and save through the month of October. So tap the app, fuel up, and get savings in a snap. Gotta have a Wawa. Well, we'll get an update on that later in the show. And also, too, we're going to find out what's going on in Capitol Hill and how does it affect you and your family with the debt ceiling battle that's happening right now. Is this something that Republicans can do anything about? Or is this just really a Democrat civil war that we're watching play out? We're going to find out when Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler joins the show straight ahead.
Thanks for taking the Zeoli Show with you. Rich Zeoli, weekday mornings on Talk Radio 1210 WPHD.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
CuriosityStream has thousands of documentary films and shows available on demand on any device. We're the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, the Disney Plus for the scientist in us. There sure are a lot of streaming services, aren't there? CuriosityStream is the one you definitely need if you're the type to nature dock and chill, if you're an armchair astronaut, if you prefer physics to psychics, or perhaps you know a precocious paleontologist. Go to curiositystream.com to learn more and sign up today.
Hey, Bears fans, are you ready for a real cocktail? Zing Zang, Chicago's #1 Bloody Mary mix, now has Bloody Marys with premium vodka already included in a can. This is the perfect Zing Zang Bloody Mary for your game day tailgate or your home bar. Keep the party going with Zing Zang's canned margaritas and bourbon whiskey sours. They have something for everyone. Pick up your Zing Zang canned cocktails today at Binny's, Meyer, or Woodman's. Zing Zang, a proud partner of Bears Radio. Please Zing Zang responsibly.
There was stories of these girls that would leave his house and they would have to swim out in the lake and get away from them. He has a secret, like the secret room in his house. He put me in there, she said. I don't want anybody to die anymore. I don't want anybody else to die. I'm looking for Ashley.
Season 3 of Up and Vanished is available right now. Listen for free on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
WPHT, HD, WOGL, HD3, Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. An Odyssey station. The revolution will be broadcast. This is the next generation of talk. Now on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, Rich Z.
So, do Republicans have any say in what's happening on Capitol Hill with the debt ceiling? How about the spending? What can they do? Good morning. Welcome back to the show. Glad you're here. 855-839-1210 on Twitter at Rich Zioli. Here to join us today, Congressman Guy Reschenthaler represents Pennsylvania in the 14th District in the House of Representatives. He's a frequent guest to the show. Hey, Guy, good morning. Thanks for joining me.
Rich, good morning. Thanks for having me on. Always enjoy it. What a mess the Democrats are in, huh?
Oh, man. And it looks, from my perspective at least, this is entirely their own intra-party civil war here. It doesn't look like Republicans have anything to do with it.
Without a doubt, this is all on them. Remember, when you control all branches of government, it's incumbent upon that party to govern. The Democrats, of course, now control all. They control both chambers, the House and Senate, of course, the White House. So it's now incumbent upon them to govern. They simply can't govern. And this isn't really a fight between the moderates and the socialists. I refuse to call them moderates. It's just some of their members are more socialist than others. And that's why you're seeing members in the Democratic Party fighting with each other over how big to make this package. But make no mistake, those so-called moderates, they just want more smoke and mirrors. They just want more gimmicks to make this spending bill look smaller. They're actually supportive of the underlying bill, which is a huge liberal progressive giveaway.
Yeah, I like to say that they're in more moderate districts, meaning that the district could maybe go back to a Republican, might flip, but they're certainly not moderates themselves. And I also don't call them progressives. Exactly. I think that they're out and out socialists. I mean, there was a time when socialist was a dirty word, but Bernie Sanders he's an open socialist, and he's the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. So obviously they're not trying to hide the fact that they have socialists in their ranks here.
Right. They've called themselves a socialist. When you have the so-called squad calling themselves socialist Democrats, they don't shy away from that name anymore. But it shows you just how far this party has moved. This is not the Democrat Party of JFK. This is not the Democrat Party of your grandfather. This is a new radical political party in the United States. They're Democrat in name only, but they're truly big government socialists, and they want to really have a takeover at all levels of the economy. I'll give you a great example, the energy sector in this bill. They're going to tax the natural gas industry while at the same time having Joe Biden beg OPEC in Saudi Arabia to produce more petroleum. They want to give these handouts to so-called the green energy sector, which is really just giving tax credits to their friends and their donors. They want to create some kind of youth squad on climate change that will go around and monitor these programs. Truly scary stuff that the press, for whatever reason, isn't paying attention to. And at the same time, they're making us weaker because they're making our economy weaker, and they're making us weaker on national security, because if we're not getting our energy from places like Pennsylvania and we're reliant on Russia, then we are incredibly disadvantaged on the world stage. Also, if they want to grow our government, that by nature they're going to stunt the growth of our economy. It's really our economic power that gives us so much leverage on, again, the international stage. So this plan actually weakens us militarily and from a national defense point of view too. Look, at the bottom line is this: if you look at this huge, massive spending, two things are clear. The Democrat Party, or whatever you want to call this liberal progressive party, is concerned with big government socialism. They want to grow the government. Republicans want limited government, and we want to grow the economy. That's the huge difference. That's what voters will remember when they go to the polls in 2022.
So the Democrats are blaming the Republicans for not increasing the debt ceiling. Mitch McConnell's turning around and saying, "Hey, this is all on you. You're in charge. You can do it tomorrow." Is this just a giant distraction? I don't think people really understand the process, because it seems like if the Democrats have the majority, they could just do it themselves, right?
They can. And you know who else had that opinion? It was actually Joe Biden when he was in the Senate, or I think when he was in the Senate back in 2003, 2004. Joe Biden, when the Republicans were in a position of having basically total control, he said it's incumbent upon the party in control to raise the debt ceiling. I'm actually not opposed to raising the debt ceiling. I can explain that. But when you have the Democrats in control of all levers of government, they've got to raise the debt ceiling. And here's why. Because if you have mixed government and you have Republicans and Democrats at the table, like we did last term under Trump, you have a negotiation. Here, we don't have a negotiation. So why would a Republican like myself vote to raise the debt ceiling if I'm not getting what I want in part of that, in terms of that negotiation? So if they want Republican votes, they need to come down on the spending package. They need to talk about increasing funding for the military, maybe taking these restrictions off the oil and gas sector, some other things. But if they want to have this my way or the highway approach to all this, then they can carry the vote on the debt ceiling themselves, because that's not a fair negotiation.
Congressman Guy Reschenthaler joins me. He represents Pennsylvania in the 14th Congressional District in the House of Representatives. Guy, explain why you just said you would not be opposed to raising the debt ceiling limit. It seems like it's always a fait accompli anyway, like it's going to be raised, but give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. Three quick things. One, China doesn't have a debt ceiling, and we need to wake up to the fact that China is what we would describe as a near peer competitor, where they are growing exponentially. Their Navy is now the size of the U.S. Navy. So we can't hamstring ourselves when we're facing a very aggressive foe that is roughly the same size of us in GDP. That is a recipe for disaster when we're trying to confront China. Additionally, if we were to default on our bills, you could see the reserve currency in the world go from the U.S. dollar to something else. Maybe it goes to crypto. Maybe it goes to one of the Gulf states. Maybe even, God forbid, it goes to China. That's a problem, because we lose a lot of leverage and control on international finance, and it weakens us again. We're the United States. We pay our bills. We'll raise that debt ceiling, but I'll tell you this. We need to get our spending under control. That doesn't change the fact we should obviously pay if you run the credit card up, you need to pay that bill. But you also at the same time need to make sure you're not running up your bills in the future. That's a whole different discussion. I think that's where a lot of people get confused. When you're talking about raising the debt ceiling, you're talking about money that's already accrued and that needs to be paid off. When you talk about spending in the future, you can talk about spending in the future. For whatever reason, that message gets mixed.
Are there certain things within the infrastructure bill that would benefit Pennsylvania? I know there's a lot of nonsense in it, obviously. Are there certain things in there that would be good for our state? Yeah.
Yeah, of course there would be. The problem is, and look, I'm very tempted to vote on the transportation infrastructure package, because I think there's a lot that's really good for our state and good for the nation. The issue, though, is that the Democrats, by design, have combined what's really a $5.5 trillion spending spree with the transportation infrastructure package, making it incredibly difficult for any Republican to now vote for the T&I, transportation infrastructure package, because it's going to be viewed as a vote for both packages. But at the end of the day, you do have a lot of socialist giveaways in that package. Additionally, if you look at and I'm talking about the transportation infrastructure package, but if you look at the spending package, the problem with that is that it comes with a high amounts of increased taxes. You have a huge giveaway to the IRS where they can monitor very small transactions to make sure they can monitor you more directly.
That part of it is terrifying.
Scary.
Yeah.
Incredibly scary. And then, of course, you have these bizarre things. Let's go back to the T&I package. You have bizarre things like having the government subsidize electrical charging stations. I'm a student of history. Henry Ford never went to the federal government and said, can you please put a whole bunch of gas stations all over the United States so I can sell more Ford Model Ts. It's private sector that should dictate this, not government giveaways.
Well, it's a great analogy, actually. I never thought about that before. They never actually asked for gas stations. Just the private sector just took care of it on their own. But this massive government choosing winners and losers with these EVs and these charging stations everywhere. And at the same time, as you point out, I mean, going after oil, going after natural gas production, it's amazing to me we have to ask OPEC to increase our supply when just a few years ago we were the world's largest exporter of these very vital energy products that we're now asking them to make for us.
Right, exactly. If I can just talk about EVs real fast.
Sure.
You know, an electronic vehicle actually doesn't really reduce carbon emission that much. It might make the driver of the vehicle feel really good about him or herself, but that energy is not being generated from the drywall when you plug it in your garage. The energy is coming from a traditional power plant, which is either in Pennsylvania, typically natural gas, coal, nuclear to a certain extent. So you're actually not doing anything to reduce carbon emissions. Additionally, a lot of the components going into those batteries are made from rare earth elements, specifically cobalt in the batteries, which comes from Africa, mines the Chinese control. And I've been making a point that the new blood diamond is now the Tesla, because in these cobalt mines in Africa, you have borderline slave labor, child labor, horrific human rights violations, and of course you have a huge environmental cost. So what's so sickening is that the people that are driving the Teslas aren't really doing anything to really bring down carbon emissions. They are leading to a bunch of human suffering and tragedy in third world countries while taking an incredible toll on the environment where these rare earth elements are being mined. So being in the know and understanding the economics of this and the cost, it's sickening to see so many people thinking they're doing good. Well, actually, they're spreading environmental catastrophe and taking a toll on people in third world countries.
Not something that you hear about in the media or on the Today Show. Never. Hey, Guy, thanks. Keep up the good work in Congress. We appreciate the fight. Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, we'll talk to you again soon. You got it.
The Rich Zeoli Show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
And by the way, the big story of the day today is this battle over the debt ceiling. It's brought to you by Exergen. If you're not sure if you have COVID, fever is the leading sign, so be vigilant and use the only thermometer with proven accuracy in more than 100 clinical studies, the Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer. Stay safe and learn more at Exergen.com. Dawn, good morning. We got a lot going on today. Very busy morning. How are you today?
I'm good. We sure do. Zeoli Show News Live, sponsored by National Railroad Passenger Corporation. We're at 64 degrees, kind of raw and rainy this morning. The full forecast coming right up. So we're learning new details about the nursing assistant who was fatally shot by his coworker at Jefferson Hospital. His family speaking out, saying he was such a good man. 43-year-old Henri James, leaving behind a wife and 3 children. Just a tragic story. As police investigate this as to what in the world happened, we're also learning more about the suspect. So the suspect's family telling police that this guy was recently suffering from mental health issues. He's a 55-year-old man. We know that police say he was heavily armed, but there are sources saying that he was known to police and did have weapons taken away from him for, quote, psychiatric reasons. So that the details of this are unraveling. So what happened? Well, police in Philadelphia say the hospital worker, armed with a rifle as well as some kind of a semi-automatic handgun, wearing body armor, walks into his workplace in a restricted area for employees only. So you need that key card. So he kills his coworker, approaches the coworker, the victim, who had his back to him, fled the facility, and then was shot in a gunfire with police that wounded 2 officers. One of the officers was listed in critical but stable condition. So we're told the officers will survive the shooting, but one of them we know needs surgery. So just a tragic story. And if you look at what happened yesterday, and then you compare that with the other tragedy of 25-year-old Nasir Day, a security worker who worked at a homeless facility, and he's being hailed as a hero who protected other coworkers, right? Both the similarity between both of these stories is that reportedly both of the shooters suffered with mental health issues. So that will come under more scrutiny as we look ahead to that. We also have the federal corruption trial against Philadelphia's most powerful labor leader and a city councilman with a union job. That's underway. We're talking about Johnny Dock and Bobby Heenan. That one is center focus. And I'll just highlight that New Jersey, up until yesterday, was the only state in the union where it was actually illegal to have a bakery from home, to make baked goods from home.
This is a big win for the Institute for Justice, by the way. They had this case.
Interesting.
This is their case.
So I know that
to allow people the freedom to be able to bake goods in their home and sell them. And they won. Isn't that great?
It is great.
Yeah.
So
and we've had the Institute for Justice on for a number of other cases, but I reached out to them today about having them come back on again because this is a big win for freedom. It really is. And again, amazing that the only state in America where you could not bake your own stuff and sell it, New Jersey.
I think it's because they know that you have a brick oven. They were worried that it would be Zeoli the baker.
It's true, but I don't know if pizza qualifies as baked goods. I don't know. There's a whole list, and you still need permits and you still need forms and you got to wet my beak. I got to pay a VIG. Somebody's got to get a check. You know what I mean?
Yeah, $100. What is the license? $100. You got to reapply it, renew every 2 years.
Is that what it is? $100?
Yeah.
And then do they have is your kitchen get inspected?
I'm assuming that you have to get inspected, you have to register, you have to apply for the license. There's a whole process.
Yeah.
So it's still, they still have a process. The NBC 10 First Alert forecast, so 69 degrees, about a 20% chance for more showers. And then tomorrow we start to warm up a bit. For your Wednesday hump day, 74 degrees with still partly cloudy, maybe a few teeny-weeny showers rolling through. Then Thursday and Friday, we're looking at 77, 79 degrees respectively, and the sun peaks out. So warmer for Thursday and Friday. So right now, enjoy the superior comfort of Acela for as little as $43 one way from Philadelphia with those saver fares. Save at Amtrak.com. 14-day advance purchases required. Data restrictions and blackout dates apply. Subject to change and availability. This is Zeoli Show News Live.
Dawn, thank you. 855-839-1210. We got a lot more to discuss, including the question of whether or not there'll be a vaccine mandate for kids in schools in our area. So don't go away.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. This year, our average client saved over $350 a month with an easy rate reduction refinance. What would you do with an extra $350 a month? Buy a new car? Pay down the credit cards? Or possibly take the family on that much-needed vacation? We are locking loans in the twos. How much could you save? Let's find out today. Visit thehomeloanexpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Amco Transmissions and Total Car Care has been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Our expert technicians can accurately diagnose all your car care needs. We'll fix it right and back it with our nationwide warranty at over 600 Amco centers. And if cash is tight, we have up to 12 months of no-interest financing and easy payment plans, even if your credit is less than perfect. Call 1-800-GO-AMCO for the location near you. That's AAMCO. Transmissions, and a whole lot more.
Hey, Bears fans, are you ready for a real cocktail? Zing Zang, Chicago's #1 Bloody Mary mix, now has Bloody Marys with premium vodka already included in a can. This is the perfect Zing Zang Bloody Mary for your game day tailgate or your home bar. Keep the party going with Zing Zang's canned margaritas and bourbon whiskey sours. They have something for everyone. Pick up your Zing Zang canned cocktails today at Jewel, Walmart, or Hy-Vee. Zing Zang, a proud partner of Bears Radio. Please Zing Zang responsibly.
The Rich Zeoli Show on your schedule. This is the Zeoli Show podcast.
You can visit Spring Dance Hot Tubs and fall into savings. Right now they're featuring their top-selling hot tubs at the best prices of the year. You want to check out the Hot Spring Grande, which is their best-selling hot tub for over 20 years now, with room for the entire family. The Grande is the ultimate in hot tub luxury. Maybe you don't have room for something quite as big. You want to check out their plug-and-play hot tubs from Free Flow Spas. Here's the thing. This time of year, fall, this is the time of year that you want that hot tub. For me, for my family, the four of us, actually it's been a while since the four of us have been in the hot tub. So usually it's either the kids or my husband and I. And you know, Friday nights I talk about that is spring dance night. It's a great way to escape, especially with all the craziness.
You know, the
out
older
there.
they get, it's probably going to be better if it's just you and your husband in there. You'll appreciate it better. They're huge. They take up so much room, right?
I know, and I always think like they're, you know, like, hey, can we invite some kids over? And I'm like, I don't want all your sweaty football friends in my hot tub.
Yeah. No, I'm at the point now where I'm just, it's a romantic getaway. Romantic getaway. Keep
I
it
like
that.
that.
Yeah. And the salt water, it's just very, very romantic.
Oh, and it feels so good on your skin. So if you're already a hot tub owner, here's the thing. You can do a trade-in sale. So when you trade in your old hot tub for something new, you get up to $3,000 toward the purchase of that new spa. Make this fall one to remember with a new hot tub or swim spa from Spring Dance Hot Tubs. So stop by and see them in Jamison, Exton, or Marlton. They're always online. SpringDanceHotTubs.com. Tell them Rich and Dawn sent you.
The Rich Zeoli Show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
So the question we're all going to have to ask ourselves throughout the course of the show today is whether or not we're all going to be feeling inflation. And as meat prices soar, will the Biden administration continue to go after big chicken? They want to choke big chicken. I'll tell you all about that in the hour of nonstop talk. They want to go after big chicken. So it's pretty amazing to me when I look at all of the issues around COVID and this wonderful story yesterday from the New York Times of all places. COVID in retreat. New cases in the U.S. have fallen by more than a third in the past month. And the good news is not only have new cases fallen, hospitalizations too have fallen. Hospitalizations fell at huge levels in the United States of America and around the world too. In India, Indonesia, Thailand, Britain, France, and Spain. The Delta variant caused a surge, and it's over now. And in the U.S., the Delta surge started in several southern states in June, began receding in those states in August. In much of the rest of the U.S., it began in July, and cases have begun falling the past few weeks. Even pediatric cases are falling because you keep hearing that fear-mongering, despite the lack of vaccines authorized for children under 12. Jennifer Nuzzo of Johns Hopkins University told the Washington Post that you can see overall trends for every state. Pediatric cases are falling again. And the most encouraging news is that serious COVID illnesses are also declining. The number of Americans hospitalized with COVID has fallen 25% since September 1st. Daily deaths, which typically change direction a few weeks after cases and hospitalizations, have fallen 10% since September 20th. It is the first sustained decline in deaths since the early summer. And what's really nice about this is they think this just may be the last wave. In other words, Delta was the last major wave. New York Times writing this now. What they write here is they say, obviously, we don't know. They can't predict the future. But what they do say, though, is that with this uncertainty around the weather and everything else, it might make people believe that, yeah, there might be another variant coming, something like that. However, given the vaccination rates in the country, given the number of people that have had COVID and have antibodies, given the treatments that are around right now, like the monoclonal antibodies and others, given all of that, they think it's very, very possible. And when you're talking about 76% of Americans over age 12 have had at least one vaccine shot, in addition to the millions of others who have already had COVID, that as Dr. Scott Gottlieb put it, quote, eventually immunity will become widespread enough. Another wave as large and damaging as the Delta wave will not be possible. Barring something unexpected, he said, I'm of the opinion that this is the last major wave of infection, which has been huge. I mean, that's huge. That's fantastic. that this could be the last major wave of infection. Now, that doesn't mean COVID's going to go away. I've always told you that this, like other respiratory viruses, will always be here. We'll always have to live our lives with it. They say COVID isn't going to disappear anytime soon. It will continue to circulate for many years. Many scientists believe. But the vaccines can transform COVID into a manageable disease. And I would argue so can the treatments. So can the natural immunity from people that have had COVID. All these things together can add to it. And in the past few weeks, the United States appears to have moved closer to that less grim future. And what's also beautiful about it is that it's not just the United States, but around the world, cases have been dropping like a rock, which is also important because if anybody thinks about the trajectory of the world and where poorer countries are, that was always where the variants were coming from as well. So all this is good news. And it's nice to see the New York Times writing it, of all places, but good news indeed. All right, so with that said, does that mean you're going back to work? It turns out that even if you're not going back to the physical office, your boss may be spying on you, and that surveillance of you may last long after the pandemic ends. I'll tell you about a Washington Post story on this. And what do we all do? The idea now that Facebook was down and maybe Facebook will come back, but do we really want it to come back? It's a question that we're all asking ourselves today. An hour of nonstop talk for you. Great audio ahead. Don't go away.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
Odyssey's going back to school, and we've got all the supplies you need, like A+ exclusive music stations and podcasts to help you or your student excel. Wake up and get the school day started with Acoustic Sunrise, the best mix of acoustic pop. Hit the books with Classical Odyssey, passionate classical music to help you focus while you study. Listen to essential school podcasts like Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing, and be inspired with TED Talks Daily. Get back to school with new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts on Odyssey.
Hey, Bears fans, are you ready for a real cocktail? Zing Zang, Chicago's #1 Bloody Mary mix, now has Bloody Marys with premium vodka already included in a can. This is the perfect Zing Zang Bloody Mary for your game day tailgate or your home bar. Keep the party going with Zing Zang's canned margaritas and bourbon whiskey sours. They have something for everyone. Pick up your Zing Zang canned cocktails today at Jewel, Walmart, or Hy-Vee. Zing Zang, a proud partner of Bears Radio. Please Zing Zang responsibly.
The climate crisis is here. Time's slipping away to stop the worst effects of global warming, and we need solutions. Hosted by me, Molly Wood, How We Survive dives deep into the economics, the tech, and the human stories behind those solutions. From billionaires trying to monopolize lithium mines to business rivalries so fierce that one CEO was dragged off a plane by federal authorities. How We Survive, following the money to the end of the world because our survival might depend on it. Listen on Odyssey and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Now, 60 minutes of nonstop talk on the Rich Zeoli podcast.
The White House kind of says you shouldn't go after senators in the bathroom, but not really. And it turns out your boss may be spying on you. This is the Biden administration says we're going to choke out the chicken. Taking aim at big chicken in America as meat prices rise. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. 855-839-1210 and on Twitter at Rich Zeoli. So the war on plastic. Now, the plastic bag ban in Philadelphia started on Friday. Any reports on how that's going so far, Dawn? Any major instances, issues, anything like that?
Not yet. We're not hearing about any fines or, any warnings. In other words, it's a 6-month grace period where businesses have to get things in order, have the signage, and start educating people to say, hey, 6 months from now, we're not going to be able to give out plastic bags.
All right, so 6 months from now is really when I want to start my underground Richie's Plastic Bags at gmail.com. That's really then, 6 months.
Yeah, and you wonder if they'll do what a lot of the wholesale clubs will have boxes. If you need a bag, they'll say, well, we have some cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
But for the biggest group I see this impacting, let's say senior citizens who can't carry a lot, they can't carry a big box. So it'll be interesting moving forward to see how stores deal with that.
Well, In New York, they're banning, they ban straws, and that's going to start soon. They have, this whole straw law, which will fine businesses for giving out unsolicited straws, but also for not having enough straws. So they'll be doing two things at the same time, according to Reason.com. Those businesses who give out straws, it's called an unsolicited straw. They'll get fined for that. But also now, if they have not enough straws, which is amazing too, and then somebody goes up to them and says, I'd like a straw, please. If they don't have a straw to give somebody, they can also get in trouble. Do you know why?
Why?
Because what if the person is physically handicapped and needs a straw? If the place doesn't have a straw, then they will get fined. So let's review. If they give out a straw, they'll get fined. If somebody asks for a straw and they don't have one, they could also get fined. Got it? The signs, which will warn people about this, will be made, ironically enough, out of plastic.
Oh, no.
So, let's review. If I go into a store and they see me and I look to be like a handicapped person and they bring me a straw, that's a violation because it's an unsolicited straw. However, if I'm the same person, an hour later, I ask them for a straw, they don't have any straws, that's a violation. Got it?
You can't win.
Can't win when it comes to these kind of blue places. So that's what I would tell you right there. Just make sure that you have. This is why underground things are going to become a huge thing, because you can never reason with people like this. Now, who do we, as Phillies fans, as very disgruntled Phillies fans, very sad.
Yes.
We see now the Yankees are playing the Red Sox now, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tonight. Who do we root for, the Yankees or the Red Sox?
I don't know. You can just root for an individual player that you like. You can't root for either one.
You can't root for either team,
No.
You're saying. You sure?
Yeah.
Do you think Philadelphians, if they had to pick, who would they pick?
Boston.
You think they pick to root for
Yeah,
Boston?
anything New York,
Yeah.
Philadelphia is not going to go over well.
Okay, let me offer you a perspective, though, from the New York Post, which today put out an editorial entitled Boston Sucks, and here are all the reasons why. And the number one reason they give, and this is why I love this, Ben Affleck.
Yep.
I kid you not. Ben Affleck comes up in this about 7 different times for all the reasons why. So let's go through all the reasons why. Boston is incapable of making a good pizza. That's pretty true. They use the word wicked to describe everything other than witches. So it's like wicked, it's wicked. That accent, which is annoying. Bill de Blasio roots for them. Phil Murphy's from Massachusetts, the governor of New Jersey. So there you go. There are a couple things to think about. They have the worst Batman ever is from there, Ben Affleck. Also, the worst boyfriend is there, Ben Affleck. Because they're warning J-Lo to think about that, right? John Kerry's from there. Just think about that, right? Add that up right there, huh? We see what I'm saying? Get it all up here. And think about this now. Dunkin' Donuts is their official coffee. We're Wawa Town. So I'm just saying, just think about that. They say Jenny from the block could do so much better. They're referring to, of course, J-Lo, because she's dating Ben Affleck. So several times throughout this, they bring him up, which reminds me of how awful he is, and also why, if he's rooting for the Red Sox, it's very difficult. I can't root for them. They literally write now in the New York Post, worst Batman. They write that in their editorial. Worst Batman.
I love it.
So there you go. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. And they have a picture of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon at the World Series. So Ben Affleck and Matt Damon together, the two of them at the World Series. One of them, Ben Affleck has a shirt on that says, I'm with stupid. But it's not pointing at Ben Affleck. It's pointing away because he's so dumb that he doesn't know. The two of them can't figure out which way to take a picture. That's how dumb the two of them are together when they come together. And they are really jerks, if you think about it. So, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you who to root for, obviously, but...
By the way, why does it say having a happy hour in a bar or restaurant is illegal?
It's illegal in Boston.
Why?
Can't have happy hours. I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
Too drunk.
It's not their happy place.
I guess not.
Don't ask, man. Don't ask about these kind of rules. Just revel in the stupidity. It's all I can tell you. Just revel in the stupidity of it. It's all you can do.
Oh, man.
But you think at the end of the day, though, it's just too difficult for Philly fans to root for New York under any circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah. probably right. What if you don't root for either team? What if you just stop watching baseball now?
I love baseball.
I know. But Boston versus New York, you could just wait till the series ends.
Yeah.
And then tune it back in.
But this is, well, I also like rivalries in sports, and this is probably the most passionate rivalry today. Like tonight's game is one of the more, finally, to see them in a meaningful game against each other in a long time. So,
well, that's true. Rivalries do make for good passion.
That's the only reason I'll probably watch.
That's about it, I guess. Yeah. But really, beyond that, there's no other reason to even pay attention to this stupid game, is there?
Well, the last time these two teams had a one-off game to see who would get into the, playoffs or the next round of the playoffs was 1978. So and one home run decided that game. So they're trying to.
Ben Affleck was 25 back then. What a dope that guy is, I'll tell you what. Just the fact that he roots for the Red Sox makes me want to root for the Yankees. But I'm not going to root for the Yankees either, but I'm just saying. Just want to point one of those things out. All right, so then we've got straw bans, plastic bag bans. We've got now the Washington Post, which has decided to change its style book. Dawn, as a reporter, I know that you were very familiar with the style books, right? The
Absolutely.
AP style books and the different requirements that all these different places use when it comes to how to phrase things. Well, Washington Post joining in the fray now. They will no longer use the phrase or term pregnant woman. It is now pregnant person. Washington Post tells employees to say pregnant individuals to be more inclusive. Pregnant individuals. That is the updated style book guidance for the Washington Post. So if you write pregnant woman, you will be considered to be, I don't know what, probably fired. But you have to now write pregnant person. Got it?
It's ridiculous.
Actually, pregnant individual. I don't know why, but they don't even want you using person. They want you to say pregnant individual. Washington Post, the more you know. Now, I don't know why they need to do this because it seems like it'd be a celebration of women to be able to mention that women get pregnant. But this is what they write. We must take care that our efforts to be more inclusive do not come at the expense of other marginalized groups, such as women, and add to a feeling of exclusion. So what they're worried about is, as they get rid of the phrase pregnant woman and put in pregnant individual, they're worried that they could, in fact, wind up making women feel excluded. You think?
Nope, makes no sense to me.
Makes no sense. Well, now you know. So if you thought that, yes, in fact, other people besides women could get pregnant, you've ever wondered that, now you know. All right? In the Democrats' $3.5 trillion spending bill, mothers have been referred to as pregnant individuals and lactating individuals on 11 occasions. Now, to be fair, a lactating individual can be a fat dude with man boobs.
Stop.
Just saying. And the British medical journal, The Lancet, referred to women as bodies with V's. I don't want to say the word because kids are eating breakfast right now, but you know the word. Bodies with V's on their September 25th cover. The Lancet editor-in-chief, Richard Horton, same guy as Horton Hears a Who, apparently. He later apologized for that cover, bodies with V's. That's what the Lancet referred to them as. Anthony Romero, the executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union, also expressed regrets after the organization altered a famous quote from the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg to remove the word woman. Dawn, this war on women is fascinating right now in America.
I know. It's bizarre to me. And where's the women's movement in this?
They're on team changing it to individual.
No, we are woman.
I think the women should get together and fight back on the war on women.
It's just bizarre to me. I don't understand it. And I don't understand why women put up with it, because it's just putting women back, not forward.
You know that new song, I Am Person, Hear Me Roar? Have you heard that?
Never heard it.
It's just a new song sweeping the nation. Yeah, actually, I'm going to make everything that has the word woman in it, they're going to change it to person, just specifically because it has the word man in it. So you can't have woman without man, so you got to get rid of the word woman because it has man in it. I think. So now they're going to change that to individual. Got it? Good. You're welcome. Now you know. Hey, listen, I'm just here to help give all this new guidance to you so you don't mess up. All right? I just want you to make sure that you don't get in trouble.
I will never in my life say pregnant individual.
Pregnant individual.
Not saying it.
Pregnant person.
Nope.
Pregnant human.
Nope.
Pregnant individual. Pregnant carbon-based life form. That'll be the new one. Pregnant carbon-based life form. I like that. We should do that instead. That could be a good one right there. Again, throwing it out there. Some of the other things that have caught my eye today in the show, which is pretty fascinating, is that a lot of people now are worried that their employer is spying on them. The answer is yes, your employer is spying on you. No doubt about that. If you are somebody who has been working remotely, you probably got a laptop from your employer. Either you picked it up from the office or maybe you got it in the mail. Well, it turns out a lot of them had software installed. Well, they'll be able to know when you're on camera. They'll be able to know what you're looking at. They'll be able to know how much you're working. They'll be able to know what sites you're going on. And there's a facial recognition monitoring company called Crutchick. They offer one of the stranger examples of America's massive work-from-home experiment. It relies on a glitchy and to some quite creepy camera system built to ensure workers don't lose focus or break the rules. Now, the thing about this creepy camera system is you won't know when it's on. So if you're using some of these devices and you think now normally the little camera comes on, there's a light to make you think that make you know when somebody's watching you. Say you went on FaceTime or Zoom or something like that. Aha! With this new technology, you no longer know. Because as long as you don't have it covered up, your employer can turn that baby on anytime they like and see exactly what you're doing. If you're pulling a tube in at home, for example, they'll know. They'll know. So how does that make you feel? Confident? Not so much? I don't know. I'm just saying, I get very, very nervous about all this stuff happening. Then all these different people want to spy on you. So maybe getting back to the office is better because then you know they're spying on you at the office, but at least you know that. So you don't have that false sense of security, Dawn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but truthfully, your employer, if you're using a computer for work by law, your employer is allowed to access that information.
I know.
So everybody should know that.
You should know that your employer can turn it on when you're home and
that's right.
See if you're pulling a tube in.
Oh, gee.
And know if your employer's CNN, it won't matter. They'll bring you back.
Yeah.
Even if you are tubing, pulling a tube in. Look at that. Well, I can't help you with your employer, but I will tell you, though, that if you want some privacy online, DuckDuckGo. Because whatever it is that makes you, DuckDuckGo doesn't think that's any of their business. And frankly, it shouldn't be the business of any tech company. So protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. There you go. And listen, some people think to themselves, I got to lose some weight. I got to be healthier. I want to get back in shape. But how do I do it? What's the best strategy? Best strategy that I can tell you is NJ Diet. You know why? NJ Diet's all natural. No shots, no hormones, no surgery, and it's a contractually guaranteed money-back program. So here's how NJ Diet begins. They start with your bioenergetically personalized scan. So they're going to look at your DNA. They're going to figure out your hair and saliva samples. They're going to figure out what you, as a unique carbon-based life form, what you need to be able to lose weight and keep it off. Then they're going to create your personal ideal diet plan and personal workout regimen. And if you're not sure you can do it alone, because everybody needs a good coach, right? NJ Diet's with you every step of the way. You're fully monitored by their certified staff to make sure you are burning fat and not just losing water. You'll also have access to the doctor's personal email and phone number. NJ Diet's all natural. Like I said, no shots, no hormones, no prepackaged foods, no surgery. They have offices in Princeton, King of Prussia, Cherry Hill, and available from home with live online video consultations. So visit njdiet.com or call 855-5NJ-DIET. 855-5NJ-DIET. You can do this and NJ Diet can help. So lose the weight for good with njdiet.com.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
Amco Transmissions and Total Car Care has been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Our expert technicians can accurately diagnose all your car care needs. We'll fix it right and back it with our nationwide warranty at over 600 Amco centers. And if cash is tight, we have up to 12 months of no-interest financing and easy payment plans, even if your credit is less than perfect. Call 1-800-GO-AMCO for the location near you. That's AAMCO. Transmissions and a whole lot more.
Hey, Bears fans, are you ready for a real cocktail? Zing Zang, Chicago's #1 Bloody Mary mix, now has Bloody Marys with premium vodka already included in a can. This is the perfect Zing Zang Bloody Mary for your game day tailgate or your home bar. Keep the party going with Zing Zang's canned margaritas and bourbon whiskey sours. They have something for everyone. Pick up your Zing Zang canned cocktails today at Jewel, Walmart, or Hy-Vee. Zing Zang, a proud partner of Bears Radio. Please Zing Zang responsibly.
Odyssey's going back to school, and we've got all the supplies you need, like A+ exclusive music stations and podcasts to help you or your student excel. Wake up and get the school day started with Acoustic Sunrise, the best mix of acoustic pop. Hit the books with classical Odyssey, passionate classical music to help you focus while you study. Listen to essential school podcasts like Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing, and be inspired with TED Talks Daily. Get back to school with new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts on Odyssey.
The Rich Zeoli Show on your schedule. This is the Zeoli Show podcast.
All right, it's that portion of the show where I ask the very important question to executive producer / corporate show Greg Stocker.
What's on the cut sheet?
Question that knows no bounds.
What's on the cut sheet today? It's Tuesday morning, sponsored by Family Pet Shows. The Family Pet Expo is this weekend. All your favorite pets under one roof: dogs, cats, birds, reptiles, and more. Great shopping for cool pet products. Leash pets are welcome. All happening at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center. Oaks exit off Route 20, off of 422. Oaks exit off of 422. Visit FamilyPetShows.com. Rich, yesterday was Pronouncement Monday on the for New Jersey.
Sorry.
Yesterday was Pronouncement Monday
For the state of New Jersey,
for the state of New Jersey.
Which makes today the Peasant Tuesday, where we all have to deal with his edicts and dictates.
So he took questions from the subjects, the subject reporters.
Now, do I have this thing? This thing's not working yet. Is it, Bill? This stupid computer?
I was told it was fixed.
All right, let me try. Let me try this here. Let's see if I can log in.
A lot has happened.
See if I can do this right now. Let's see. I got to remember my password. Boom. Here we go. Let's see. Password's incorrect. Come on.
So he did. I was told that after you log in, give it a minute.
Hang on. Ben Affleck sucks.
Why doesn't Greg just play it?
Hang on. Ben Affleck sucks 2021, and every year is my password. Okay. Ben Affleck sucks, and then exclamation mark. Radio server's not available. So there you go.
Not ready.
All right. So I can't do the official Phil Murphy horns.
But luckily I can.
Look at that. Fantastic. Wait, you were still setting it up, though. So why don't you finish setting it
up? He was asked by one of the reporters yesterday about what are the metrics for removing masks in schools for kids, right?
Oh, metrics.
Like, what are the metrics? Like, what threshold do we need to hit before masks can come off in school?
It's a question a lot of parents are wondering. What is the metric? What do we use? Is it just his whims? Is it just whatever he decides that day? Is there actually a metric? Interesting.
So would you like to hear from the governor?
Well, no, but we will hear from King Philip the Unaccountable. Peasants! Gather around! King Philip the Unaccountable will decide if his mood strikes him if your filthy children can demask. You idiots.
My subject non-empirical answer would be
I'd
go back to where
Who talks like this? My what? My subject non-empirical answer? Is this how he refers to his royal subjects? Your royal subjects.
My subject non-empirical answer would be I'd go back to where I think we all think this is headed, which is it's never going to go to zero. So the virus, I think our operating assumption, folks, is it's going to be in our midst. Ed had mentioned several months ago that a bad flu season is a couple of thousand deaths, and we're running well above that, particularly with the Delta variant. But at the time he said it, we were actually coming down. It was in April or May, and it was coming toward that. So why do I say that? The reason why I feel like I can say it won't be forever and for always is because we're not going to hold ourselves to a zero reality here. We're going to make moves and make decisions based on what we think is a reasonable, expected future state of the virus.
So let me translate that for you. Peasants! His Royal Highness will give you hope you can unmask your children until he's reelected, at which point he will tell you you can never unmask your children. Your filthy, filthy children. That's your translation right there. You got to have the English to King Philip and vice versa handbook. So
he was also asked, as we reported, I believe at the end of last week, California has announced the vaccine mandate for school children. And he was asked about... See, the reason I have to break these up, let me just explain this to the audience. Because each reporter asks about 5 questions. So, it's 5 questions in a row, then he answers all 5 questions. So, there's no real succinct way to do this. That's why I'm setting these up the way I am. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, no, he stands here, he asks 5 questions,
Yes.
and Murphy writes all 5
Yes.
down, and then he answers them one at a time.
Yes.
Which ensures that it takes hours and hours and hours for every briefing.
It's so annoying that, they ask 5 questions, and, there's one good one in there. You have to pick out that question and then pick out his answer to make it sound good for the radio. So that's why I'm setting these up like this. So he was asked about vaccine mandates and will they be coming to New Jersey schools for children ages, I think, 5 to 12.
I don't anticipate that we're going to need to do that in terms of mandating the kids.
You're so full
to
of
have
it.
but it's an option I think we leave on the table.
There it is.
There you go. Yeah. You are so full of crap that you're not going to mandate those to kids. Who the hell are you kidding? You're only saying that now because you're up for re-election. You know it, and I know it.
And as we do, across the board here, we think we've got the right package for school in place. We also acknowledge that as the weather starts to slip on us and we're spending a lot more of our lives inside, including at schools, that we may well see some bumps, but we think this is the right package in place.
And that's all the clarification he gave on that. So the answer is not yet, but it's on the table.
Yeah, the answer is first let me get reelected in November. Then I'll institute the vaccine mandate. But I'm not going to say it now. What are you, crazy? His Royal Highness dodging the royal questions again from the Royal Press Corps. That asks him all friendly questions, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, this reporter, whoever it is, because they don't, he calls them by their first name, so I don't really know where they're